Good afternoon. So we are going to talk a lot about food and food business today. When we do that, I know the lunch is being prepared next door, so you don't need to really kind of worry. You get food right after, right? So the way we're going to take it is that we're going to talk about one more seat. And why we call this session one more seat is because it's really about filling in capacity in restaurants. Can anyone take a guess what is the average seat occupancy on an average of a restaurant in the hotels? Take a wild guess.
80%.
80%?
50, 20.
20%. Okay. 40.
We're not very optimistic, are we?
15. Okay. All right. So if we take the breakfast elements out of it, or the breakfast covers that a restaurant does, it's actually 9% seat occupancy. Okay. This data is obviously skewed a little towards the US, but also has some Asia Pacific respondents. You know what was the worst nightmare for these people? Because no one was actually even looking at this data before they started doing this research. So they actually had to go through different POSs, fill out data, and actually figure out what was the seat occupancy across 3 meal hours. And you think about it, here's some food for thought for all of you. Successful and highly profitable restaurant businesses are very deliberate. They are heavily analyzed businesses. They come up with a great location, concept, they work on their signature elements, and they do a phenomenal job of really driving the business, because that's what their business is about, right? And that's why later on in the panel you will find that I thought one can learn a lot from independent operators. So instead of having any hotel F&B operators on this panel, we've got some very, very successful entrepreneurs whose entire world revolves around making money, keeping their investors happy from just running their own independent restaurants, where the heat, light, power, administrative expenses are not pushing off in the rest of the hotel P&L, right? So their entire business is about driving that, and that's why we're going to focus on. And it's also important to understand that 95% is the failure rate in this industry, and that's why it makes it perhaps one of the most challenging industries in the world, because the actual entrepreneurship failure rate in the world is about 85%. So that means 85% of the startups fail around the world. 15% are successful. So now think about that figure and think about this industry where 95% of the businesses fail within the first 1 year. And that's what also makes this industry extremely challenging. So what does really success look like in this industry? Yeah. So we focus on 5 pillars, or 5 key aspects of this business. One is location and product differentiation. I think there are a lot of restaurants that fail because if you ask the founders of those restaurants, either they didn't think about the location or the impact of a particular location, or they did not differentiate their product, right? Data analytics and optimization. For all the successful businesses that you will hear about later today, they spend a lot of time analyzing their business. They understand a lot about their customers. They know their customers intimately. They talk to their customers very often. So they have a very good understanding of what are their aspirations, desires, and what really drives repeat clientele. The next aspect is marketing, both online and offline. So if you think about the amount an independent restaurant spends, it could be anything between $5,000 to $10,000 a month on just marketing expenses, PR costs, and online digital promotion, paid social. So this is an important aspect, and when we talk about offline, we play a short video which will tell you when I say offline what it means offline. And the last but not the least is reputation management. They really care about what conversations are going on about that. Not just because they want great reviews, but they also want to hear when the review was bad and respond to that and take appropriate action. How many times have you got a review message saying, oh, thank you for reaching out to us. We will review this and come back to you, right? I mean, it's a general message because that's part of the SOP, and it's perhaps the general manager's assistant who has no clue about what went out in that wrong in that restaurant, writing a feedback and saying, okay, I'm going to check on this and come back to you. And it's really annoying because the customer is annoying, and that's why they posted an annoying feedback and they get a generic response, right? So, and it's not just about that, it's about having to understand the conversation and take some outcome out of that conversation into action. Without any biases, I think one of the tagline that catches my eyes very clearly is some along beachside vibe, Mediterranean soul. I think this when Rohit is the founder is here, one of the key aspects when they looked at the positioning of the restaurant, I think they looked at a few metrics. They said, are we going to be drinks focused, and are we going to be casual, or are we going to be like super formal? And I think they found a space amongst various competitors, which they thought were their competitors, or various restaurants that operate. They found a space, and they said, this is where we want to position it. We don't want to be too formal, we don't want to be too casual, we don't want to be known for our cocktails, but we want to serve decent drinks, and we want to serve decent milkshakes and so on. But that's where, but the positioning is very clear. When I read it and I go and experience the product, for me it is, yeah, I get it. You know, in terms of the design features, in terms of the product features, and in terms of the meal that is offered and the vibe that is created, right? So it stands out to me, very clear product differentiation, great location for what they want to achieve, and great value proposition. So it's all about understanding who is the segment that you're doing. Pretty much what you guys do in rooms, right? You understand what are the target segments and you approach it from that perspective. In terms of analytics and optimization, there are a few goals and a few drivers of the performance. Firstly is understanding your own business. You know, what are the different trends? So in rooms, we do a great job of understanding our trends in business. Think about it, how much time do we spend on a food and beverage business? I mean, Linen is an exception over here because their life revolves around data analytics on total revenue management front, so they do a phenomenal job. There's also the aspect of optimizing server time. You know, it's about how do you work with the least amount of manpower and get the maximum amount of productivity, right? It's also about managing different demand periods. So just like rooms has hot and cold periods, there are hot and cold periods. Enhancing overall operational efficiency, because at the end of the day, the more efficient your operation, the more satisfied your customer. So there's a direct correlation between the two elements. And last but not the least, build your own knowledge around your restaurant, the services, and so on. I mean, there's so many restaurants. I was sitting yesterday for in a restaurant, and someone ordered a tea, and the guy comes and recommends a kind of tea, and then she said, okay, what's in the tea? And he's like totally lost. Okay, you're trying your best to upsell, you can see that, but dude, have your product knowledge. If you don't have your product knowledge and you don't know what's in the tea, how you're upselling it, how you suggest the selling and recommending it, right? And this is where I think I take a cue from Jeanette. Jeanette, who I really miss her in the region, she's now in Paris. She was the former vice president for HSMAI, which is a company which, in my opinion, has done the most amount of respectable work when it comes to food and beverage optimization, revenue optimization. And I mean, she looked at things very simplistically in terms of time, space, and price. And actually, if you managed to get a copy of a presentation from Jackie, which was done, I think, about a couple of years ago, it was a terrific presentation because every bit of this aspect in terms of table mix, customer seating, each one, she substantiated it with a live case which they had done in one of their restaurants or one of their bars. Right? And then I think capturing it all, that how do you manage different demand periods, it was really about how do you revenue restaurant management strategy, how do you apply that in terms of hot, busy, and cold, not so busy periods, and what are the different aspects you can look at to driving and managing demand. So that just simply proves, and there is a use case over here, that if you apply some of these measures, these restaurants tend to make 5 times more revenue than those that did not take leverage of some of these aspects of the business. In terms of marketing, it's all about reach, retention, and reputation. And I think somewhere down the line, the National Restaurant Association in the United States, as well as the Federation of Restaurants in Asia Pacific region, they came up with pretty much the same outcome, right? 89% of the guests researched online, right? And to be honest, if I go onto the hotel website and I see the food and beverage, maybe the restaurant has one paragraph. It doesn't tell me much information. I still have to call the hotel most times, understand. And if you're a Chinese restaurant which is reaching out to like 40, 50-year-old Chinese people, traveling from mainland China, spending a lot of money, and you don't have a Chinese website, you're not appealing to them. You know, if you're not on some of the Chinese platforms promoting yourself, you're not reaching out to them. If you don't have a reach out social media page for your restaurant and you want to focus on that market, you're not reaching out to them, right? And 33%, that's a pretty huge number, right? They look at guest reviews online before they actually plan to make a reservation. But all of these aspects together, I think, are best captured in this little video.
Hi, I'm Sarissa from Upserve, and this week's Whiteboard Wednesday is going to cover restaurant marketing. Marketing your restaurant today is about combining all of your traditional marketing tactics, such as menu specials and events, with all of the new ways of communicating your message online. We know you can't ignore the conversation around online marketing and social media, and we can't either, but traditional marketing is not gone just yet. One of the easiest and most effective ways to market your restaurant is by word of mouth. Ask your guests if they like their meal and ask them to tell their friends. This is a personal way to get to know your guests and show them just how much you value their opinion. Your staff are the experts on your product, your food. Guests trust your staff's opinions and their recommendations. Teach your staff to upsell. This is the easiest way to increase your bottom line. As long as it does not come off too pushy, the guests won't even know that they're being marketed to. Your staff members also have unique and fun personalities. Guests are actually more willing to stop by when they know that I'm behind the bar. I mean, come on, how else would they find out about the best shoe sales in Providence? How can your staff do this? Well, they can do it in conversation or even reach out on social media, like saying you, me, the Dorrance, 10 p.m. Believe it or not, 86% of restaurant guests have researched a restaurant online before dining, and that's according to the National Restaurant Association. That's huge, and I don't just mean millennials either, so get your website ready. Here's the thing. The guest experience starts before your guests even step through the doors. The second they check out your website, your guests are expecting to see 3 things at the minimum: location and hours, your menu, and reservations. 9 out of 10 restaurants use social media to connect and engage with their guests. For restaurateurs like you, the idea of using social media marketing to reach guests may feel like a big time commitment, especially when you're already focused on managing your reputation with Yelp and OpenTable. The hard facts are this: if you're not on social media, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Social media is ingrained in our daily lives, and if you don't integrate it into your restaurant, you'll be left behind. To make it easier, let's boil it down to 3 buckets. 1, where is your target audience? 2, what are they talking about? And 3, what do they want from your restaurant? When you combine your traditional marketing efforts with online marketing and trends, you're going to take what you've already been doing to the next level. And thanks for joining us on this episode of Whiteboard Wednesday.
It's a pretty interesting series, so anyone of you want to sign up, go on Whiteboard Wednesdays. They do on every Wednesday a little release of a short video, which I thought was always very insightful. So I just pulled out a kind of a leaf out of their series of videos that they do. But I think, let's be honest, there's a ton of information. After this conversation, you'll find even more burden with a lot of thoughts, hopefully, and a lot of takeaways. So the most important aspects, and I want to focus on some keywords, which is listen, strategize, and share. That means first, listen to your customers. What are they saying? Have a conversation with them. How many restaurants I go to, no one even bothers to ask me whether I really like my food, right? And then the second thing is strategize. Based on what you're hearing from them, strategize. Have a plan around that. And then share. And share with your customers. Find out where your audience are and what exactly is going to be the conversation. I see so many restaurants just posting, okay, buy one, get one from happy hour time. You know. To be honest, those are annoying social media posts to me. Yeah, it's not relevant. It's not relevant to my conversation. But if you tell me, you know, that Rohit is going to go behind the bar and, you know, spin cocktails, I would pay anything to watch that happen. You know. And embarrass the hell out of that. So that's an experience you know, money can't buy. You know, so I'd go for something like that. So that's important. Act, engage, and measure. So one of the important things is to really act on these insights that you're seeing and engage with your customers. And engagement doesn't just have to be on social media or online platforms, on review sites. Engagement takes place right at your restaurant. And like, you know, you heard Sophie say that, you know, you have experts, and how would they learn about, you know, the shoe sale? And that just shows the personal connection that some of the servers. I mean, I remember going to my favorite bar, and I go to my favorite bar not because they serve the best cocktails in town, but simply because I have a great time and great conversation with the bartenders behind the bar, and they keep me engaged and occupied, and I'm laughing all the time, and there's such a gift of gab. I just enjoy a conversation with them. And last but not the least, if you're asking yourself this question, I'm spending so much on paid social, I'm spending so much on online marketing, how do I measure that? Your restaurant performance tells you how you measure it. If you're trying to push a certain low period with some of the strategies that we discussed, then you know, it's working in a positive manner. And if you focus on some high demand periods and take advantage, for example, Formula One, most of the restaurants go full during Formula One events because a lot of people are doing side dinners and all of that. So how did your restaurant perform during that period, the demand strategies that you had set in? And on that note, without further ado, let me take the pleasure of inviting our three panelists for today. Rohit, Roopchand, CEO, the Dandy Partnerships. Rohit, come on. Sarissa, who is the Managing Director and Founder for SJS Group, and also Hong Kong F&B Nightlife. And Shane Kelly, he's missing his hat today, but he's from Revel Systems. So in contrast to both Sarissa and Rohit, Shane is the guy who powers technology that helps them to be successful. All right, thank you very much, Rohit, Sarissa, and Shane for being on this panel. And Rohit, let me start with you. You have, I would say, perhaps the coolest, very successful restaurants in Singapore and Hong Kong.
Very fancy.
And you just opened the Pontiac Stardust in Bali. So what is the process that you go through every time that makes your restaurant successful and that your investors seem to be super happy with what you're delivering? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, thanks for having us on the panel today, Puneet. Very flattering of you to compliment our restaurants all over. Look, the process of starting a restaurant and opening an independent restaurant, we go through quite a lot of extensive research. So, you know, the slide that you previously saw that Puneet put up with the 4 quadrants, that's something that we use quite a lot when we do our market research for setting up new restaurants. what space do we want to be in? Do we want to be, in the formal, casual? Do we want to be a restaurant? Do we want to be a bar? And what we do then is we do some extensive market research on, if it's a specific location we're looking at, who's around and where they fall into the quadrant, and then furthermore, who's in the city that we're looking to open, who are the popular players and who are doing well, and where does that fall in? Very quickly, through that, we find where our area of opportunity is. Once we find that area of opportunity, we can then go into, the details of what our concept is, going into further test that with proof of concept, to make sure that we've done our homework to get a product that gives us the best chance of success.
Fantastic. And how do you get this information? Do you have like conversations with people? And do you actually talk to operators on the ground?
That's the funnest part about this business, right? You get to go out and eat and drink and do it for a living. So, a big part of the setup process involves going out to restaurants and bars and getting to see what the product offering is, getting to meet the people, getting to know what they're doing, which is super fun. And then we really have first-hand knowledge of what's going on.
Awesome. Sarissa, in contrast to Rohit, you have a much more diverse portfolio. So I know you arrived 7 years ago, and you and Josh were involved with Pangea, which ended up becoming a real classic for Singapore as a club. And then you ended up opening Bang Bang and most elusive Lulu's Lounge, and then ended up opening perhaps the most happening venue in Singapore, where boys only. And now you just opened Pasta Bar, and then you also have some Happy Tacos and a couple of other projects in pipeline. So, do you follow a similar process? Is there some commonalities because you're running some amazing entertainment bars, clubs, lounges, and then you've got handmade Italian pasta, a pretty cool restaurant. So, what is the difference?
Yes, so again, thank you for having us on this panel. At the risk of being perhaps a little direct, I think that I take a little bit of a different approach to Rohit, which I'm quite envious of because I wish I were that organized. But a lot of what I do is I really relate, and this might sound quite odd to many of you, but I look at F&B and nightlife and the cocktail culture as really being a part of culture. So much in the same way where I look at movies or music or television and social media and how that plays into culture and moves culture along, I also look at food and beverage to be very much in the same vein. So when I'm doing a place and I'm dreaming up a venue, it's less about, of course there has to be a location, play, and all of those things need to align, but I really look at where I fit in to the fabric of this community and where I can add value to the community and where I fit into the culture of now.
Okay, so that's actually a contrast to the way you run an operation. But I see an interesting point over there in terms of culture, and then you're pursuing more about market assessment and really finding out, whereas you're trying to say, okay, how do I fit into this culture and how do I take advantage of that culture and then integrate it?
Yeah, and a lot of the concepts that I do, to be honest, are thought on for over a year. So when something happens, it's usually because it's already been thought about quite obsessively for a very long time. Of course, there's that market research that goes along with it. But if I don't feel like I'm adding something where I'm saying something different, or where I don't see the personality of the place very clearly, then I don't do it.
Okay, great. Shane, most of the hospitality industry, including restaurant, you said they don't have data. So So firstly, do you agree with that statement? Because so Shane is Revel systems. Most of the independent operators, they take advantage of Shane's system, and it's a pretty cool system actually. It works off the iPads and all of that. I've played around with it a lot. Do you agree with that? There's no data?
No. There's so much data out there, and I think through the different types of solutions that are deployed in environments, you can get data points from a wide variety of areas. Census data, look at the average earnings of people in different geographic regions to determine what their spending power would be. To touch on Rohit's point, or Sarissa, the type of experience that you're going to be providing to a customer will depend on a lot of these factors. And in the point of sale solution space, we can track average spend, average covers, peak periods during the day. This can be overlaid with data that you can collect from Wi-Fi, so you can determine how long people are staying in an environment. All of these can be useful data points to help convert and monetize your business.
So you mean the free Wi-Fi that I'm giving, I'm actually being a sucker for providing data to you guys?
So there's a captive portal services. So this is when people are going into a location. How can you turn that cost that you're paying every month to provide this Wi-Fi into a profit center? So are there ways of leveraging this data? So you can use a captive portal. There's a solution in the market called Sugar Wi-Fi, which is also one of our products. And so a little plug there. So you can start analyzing consumers' interests through social media channels. So if you're opening up a new concept and thinking, what type of peer should I provide? If you already have data points from, say, 15,000 customers that you're trying to service, you can see what their preference already is. So when they come in, hey, they already have the beer that they've already told you that they like from day one. So those are very useful data points.
So, Rohit, how do you gain insights to your customers now? Over here Shane's clarified that there is data, right? So don't complain that there is no data. So what kind of customer insights do you look at? What decision making does it lead to? What do you actually do with this data?
Yeah, look, it's using a lot of Shane's tools. There are tons of resources available now. For us, we do use a Wi-Fi aggregator tool where we get data on what our demographic is based on country they come from, based on age, based on sometimes based on income too. So very easily we can then customize what our product offering is based on what information we gather for those subsets of the data that we can pull out. Tracking average spends, tracking covers, tracking peak periods allows us very easily to then focus on when we do need to have more people come in, when we need to run promotions, when we need to have value adds, to then make those non-performing periods, periods that do perform and periods that we can generate more revenue.
Talk to us, I'm not going to let you off so easy. Talk to us about a fun thing that you did with the data, an example, a decision you guys took which went completely wrong, or a decision that you took that made everyone super happy.
So at Summerlong in particular, our biggest target or biggest demographic of our customers were British. So we're a place that offers brunch over the weekend, and our offering was like you saw the tagline, Mediterranean soul. So we've got Mediterranean food. And British people, when they come to brunch, what do they want to eat? Baked beans, toast, eggs, tomato. So we were like, okay, how do we appeal to this target demographic? And we came up with what we call the Summerlong breakfast, which is exactly an English breakfast with a little bit of Mediterranean twist. And that I thought was just a really fun thing that we did with data that we had to then attract that demographic of customer, to give them something that was familiar to them, which has now become a pretty popular dish in the restaurant.
And Sarissa, in your case, you went on an extensive itinerary of south of Italy, right? South to north of Italy, before you opened Pasta Bar. What were your learnings from that, and how do you capture all that insight about what the customers wanted, and how do you apply it every day to your business? You know, just to let you know, when they opened Pasta Bar, Josh and Sarissa were literally cleaning toilets and you know, serving customers for the first, I think, 6 or 7 weeks of their operation. So it's not just about them being hands-off for operators and investors, and because they've achieved so much success, they back off from the business. They are very, very much integrally involved, and they're actually serving customers and they're talking to them. So just coming from that.
Yeah, I think I still have my change of clothes at Pasta Bar in case our dishwasher doesn't show up. But so I mean, your question. So Pasta Bar, as you know, but many of you might not know, is it's an homage to the traditions of Southern Italy. So basically what we wanted to do is really bring back the reverence of the noodle, and we just felt like in Singapore it wasn't being paid the respect that we felt was deserved of it. So all of our dishes are different in the sense of, you know, the name is quite contrary to what it is. It's not a mix and match, or it's actually a very vibe dining, high-end pasta restaurant. And everything is made with different ratio, water to egg, and everything is very thoughtful, and it's all traditional recipes from South. So I guess your question is that, yeah, we went on an extensive trip, which research and development can be quite tiring, but it's also fun, and quite expensive, but also fun. And yeah, what we did was we really went to where our chef was. We visited our chef and his family, and we walked for 18 hours around the town of Genoa and went into all of the places where he grew up and spoke to all of the old ladies making bread in the back and watched them. And it was a lot of inspiration that we got from it, and we were really able to bring that personality back to Singapore.
And now you're in Singapore serving authentic Italian food. How do you adapt to the taste, style? You know, what makes people come back to you? How do you manage your elite clientele? So what other different things you do?
Yeah, I think that when we first opened, and luckily still now, our demand was so high that we actually couldn't keep up with it, which is a good problem, but it's still a problem. And we found that our kitchen was too small. We were doing 3 seats in a small 35-seat restaurant. We would have 90 reservations. It was quite stressful. But I think that what we did was we really sat there for those, especially for those 3 months, and still now, and really analyzed what our customer wanted. So I'll just give a quick example is, we had allocated 1 hour and 30-minute time slots for dinner. And then what we realized was that our customers, especially in the peak hours, so not so much the 6 p.m. customers, but the people that were coming 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, they actually wanted a lot more time than the 6 p.m. customers. So I adjusted that, made people a lot happier, and sometimes it's okay to have less heads in a restaurant, and then you actually increase your spend. The messaging was a big part of it. In terms of making sure that people understood what we were doing and the mouthfeel of the dish, and why certain sauces are good with certain pastas, and that is a constant learning curve. It's about also having a knowledgeable staff, and they go through an extensive training period where they're also in the kitchen making pasta, so they're also passionate about it.
Awesome. So without sounding too geeky or revenue management, basically Sarissa is saying how they manage their hot and cold periods, how they manage demand, how they understand and analyze their data, and then translate that into action by simply saying, okay, I need to improve my timing over here or give more allocation. And I think what she's not telling is that customers who come at 7:30 order at least 2 or 3 bottles of wine, and an average bottle of wine in Pasta Bar is about $130 to $150 $500 saved, so that basically means you're getting about $500 just on the wine bill, right? So that's the way they differentiate. Sorry, Sarissa, I haven't looked at your business reports, but just saying, based on my observation.
Absolutely,
All
because
right.
you're there.
And that leads me to an interesting conversation since we are talking about repeat clientele, right? And a lot of restaurateurs believe that 60–70% of their spend actually goes towards growing repeat clientele, because acquiring new clients is a long drawn process, it's an expensive process. So, and they have captive customers who are sitting in their bars and restaurants, and they rather kind of keep bringing them back. So it's a more rewarding effort. So one day, so Shane and I was actually, we had a nice, interesting conversation over a few gin and tonics later about, I said, why can't a POS have a CRM system and all that? And Shane listened to my outburst, you know, for about 5 minutes, and he said, but we do have a CRM for Octane. So it's just that you guys don't use it. So you want to talk about that? And anyone who's used it, what value have you seen?
Sure. So when we talk about customer relations management, there's a couple areas: customer acquisition and customer retention. And these will be useful at different sort of checkpoints in a business's journey. When it's growing, it needs different things. After it's grown to a certain place and stabilized, how do you continue to engage those customers? And so there's basically two ways to grow revenue, and that's either serve more customers or to increase the spend per customer. And within the same business, you found at different periods, maybe I want to have more covers during this period, and then other periods I want to slow that down and allow the customers to spend more. And so being able to track what customers are spending inside the POS, what have they frequently been ordering, what's their most popular dish. If you can build that into your SOPs for training and engaging with the customers, you can see, even if it's a new staff, if you have high turnover in your business, the new staff can still see, the customer profile for this person looks like they enjoy red wine. So maybe when I first engage the customer, I offer them a bottle. It's a meaningful recommendation because that's something that the customer's data has presented as an opportunity. So I think that there's also the element of the email or digital ways that you can reach out to customers. So if locations are opening into a new area, so Rohit's growing his business into different markets or opening up a new outlet, if you already have a database of customers that fit the profile of who you're trying to attract, then you can hyper-target them. And especially with a lot of the recent PDPA and GDPR requirements that are coming out to protect customers' data. I think just a day ago, British Airways got a $230 million fine for leaking customers' data. So this is a very important area that you should protect. And if you can contact and talk to your customers in a meaningful way, not through mass market emails, but through a segmented way of, we know that you are interested in this and therefore we're messaging you kind of in a personal way, you'll have a lot better uptake. And if you have a large database, which I'm sure many people here do, and you get a very small conversion, that can still lead to hundreds of covers. So that's a very, if you're careful with how you use your data, it can be very valuable.
So basically, Shane has demystified two aspects which we hear all the time. Number one, no data. So he says, nonsense. There is data available. You're not using it. The second thing, can CRM and can you really engage with these customers? Can you capture a profile and understand what their spend patterns are and so on? The allegation from my outburst rather was that, you guys are crap. And then, he's again demystified it and just opened my eyes to saying, hey, this is what you can do. You're just not using it. You need to train your people to capture all this information. And to be honest, I'm not even broaching this topic because I think it'd be very difficult to shut off Rohit and Sarissa if I talk about availability of staffing and the quotas and all of that. I don't even want to go into that territory because that's a whole day conversation. That is one of the most biggest challenges of operating in Singapore, is really inspiring and basically getting people to work in the food and beverage business. So that's one of the biggest challenges, right? So given all of that, I think what Shane has to offer is really good. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about social media and online targeting. And I came across this amazing video, and I thought I'll just share that with you guys before we deep dive into a further conversation. So that's about this Insta menu, that's created by this company, Komodo NYC, and I thought this was brilliant because we talk about the relevance of online marketing and all of that, and that's, how cool is this? One of the biggest flaws is my short-term memory loss, apart from the little street fight that I got into. Sometimes your friends would recommend, hey, I tried this thing, it's really, really good, right? So for the love of life, I can't remember the pasta which I love the most at Pasta Bar. I still continue to forget the name that I see on the menu. So how
the beef burger,
yes. Yeah. It's about going on to this Insta menu and say, oh, this is what actually Alex recommended I should eat because he's already posted, and this company has done something really interesting. They created the entire menu offering our Instagram posts. So it's relevant, it's real, it's honest, it's recommended by people I care about, whose recommendations I value, and I thought it's a phenomenal take when it comes to social media. So taking that as kind of the inspiration. Sarissa, now you are heavily involved in PR and marketing. Considering Josh just got himself out here an Instagram account.
I had to start an Instagram account. I think I manage it.
So Josh is Sarissa's husband, who's also the business partner, and they're partners in crime together. So so you're more involved in PR. So what have been your challenges? What are the key learnings? And what do you think people can really benefit from in the audience from some of the success stories you've seen in like online or offline marketing? What works for you best?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think social media is so important, and I've been quote unquote on social media since Facebook first started. So it's really just a part of my life at this point. So it's trying to extract something that I inherently believe that I know into how to put that on paper, I think is quite hard. But one of the things that I really fully believe in social media is that you have to really see if you're on the cusp of what's new, because that's where you can really make an impact. So being, understanding things such as Insta stories are more viewed and they're more valuable than a stagnant post, for example. So if you have an influencer that's going to charge you money for a post, you probably want to get more out of the stories than out of an actual post. But I really do believe in the value of influencers, and specifically micro influencers, which we all are. If we're on Instagram, we're all influencers, right? So that's something that I feel strongly, and I think it's really important, as you said, to engage in your customers. Every single person, that stories, tags, comments, whatever, it's a like from the venue, it's a thank you from the venue, it's a repost from the venue. I also think that as far as capturing visuals, it's important. I'll just give an example. I have a nightclub at the Pacific here. It's called Bang Bang, and the brand is very just irreverent, fun. It's supposed to be just kind of let loose, let your hair down, not so serious. And with that, I had these photographers come in, this is 5 years ago, and they would line everybody up, take pictures, go around the club, line everybody up, everybody would look at the camera and smile, and then they would get that to me, and that was completely unacceptable, because that does not, in any sense of the word, give a potential customer or potential guest insight into that night. So now if you go on Bang Bang's Instagram, you'll see I'm very adamant on making sure that people are caught mid-laugh, mid-dance, mid-something, where it's candid and it's not posed. And that is very essential to that particular brand, where of course every brand is very different. Whereas Pasta Bar is, of course, more about the food and the ingredients and the Italian ingredients and the chef and things like that. But everything is different, and yes, social media is extremely important.
And that's why I have a deal running with the lead photographer at Bang Bang, never to photograph me, and I keep on buying my drinks. Rohit, you are more on the data-driven guy. You like your analytics. I hear everybody tells me you drive people insane in reports. So when it comes to your online marketing spend and offline marketing spend, right? What are the different aspects? Do you look whether you're getting the right ROI? Is it working for you? How do you make changes? I know you have social media people on your team or digital managers on your team now. How do you make sense of out of this? I know Facebook throws a lot of data. Google shared a lot of fun data this morning about Indonesian travel, for instance. So there's a whole bunch of data. How do you make sense of it? And what kind of pieces of information are most valuable to you?
Yeah, like you can never have enough data according to me. Getting insight into how your business is doing with data, to me, is the crux of running a small business, right? It's like it allows you to stay ahead of the curve. It allows you to really kind of position your business to be successful. So with marketing spends, with social media spends, it's really kind of seeing what reach that has, it's seeing the engagement, it's seeing, figuring out how that's translated into bodies through the door and bums on seats. And given the availability of all of that, it allows us to really kind of specifically go into, whether it's a specific post or a story or what it is that gives us the best ROI on our spend. The boosts, the dollar spent on the boost and what that returns, all of that is really critical for us.
Shane, we drive ourselves insane in the revenue management world. We always want to say, okay, is RevPAR the best measure of a business, or is it Compass, or what is it? So what, in your opinion, are the best measures to benchmark your restaurant performance? So if you were to look at, if I was to ask someone a question in an elevator and say, hey, how's your restaurant business doing? I mean, if someone asked me how's the rooms business doing, I would say, oh, my RevPAR is up by 12%, and I'm killing the competition because I've had a market penetration gain by 3 percentage points or basis points, and we made so much percentage down in the GOP, so business is great, right? So if I was to make that elevator pitch to someone about my restaurant business, what would that be? What would the measures be?
So I think the ultimate success of most businesses doesn't necessarily rely on these hard numbers. A lot of it is the trust that the team has with one another and how well they operate together. And that will drive the success throughout the different elements of the business. And as you start collecting data, you might find that labor is an issue that you need to start addressing. You might find that your cost of goods is an area that you need to start addressing. So as you can deploy this team and a trusted group of people to start evaluating and collecting the data that will give you the information that you need to make better decisions, that's where I see most of our successful businesses, that's where they really excel. So it's not like you've been able to hit this number of covers, you've been able to, get your food costs down to this level. It's a variety of factors, and it's different for different industries. Nightclubs versus quick service restaurants, they're dealing with very different types of problems and people and processes. And so having a team that is able to understand the needs and play in a very surgical way will probably be a greater indicator of success than any generic, statistic you can pull out.
All right. So I think that's a great insight, because what you're saying is you can't have a cookie-cutter approach for all types of restaurants and all types of operations. Food and beverage businesses are fairly unique. So depending on the uniqueness, you need to think about what really success looks like, put some measures in place that define your success, and then make the most out of it, right? Okay. So considering we've spoken a lot about how it is, let's talk about where it's going to be. So if you were to think of one biggest trend that is going to influence the food beverage businesses that you are operating in, that keeps you up at night, what is that one big thing for the future that you think about, that you wonder about, which gets a bit of energy going? Right.
For us, it's how can we make sure people's experiences are just better and better. It's about the experience, not as much about the food and beverage anymore. I think that there are tons of places doing great food and great beverage, but what is it in addition to that venues are offering? What's the experience?
Okay. So what about you?
I think that, yes, I absolutely agree with that. It's experience for sure. I think that it's harder and harder because, to get people to get off their couch, get dressed, put down the Netflix, not order Deliveroo, and get up and go to your place and spend money and then not have buyer's remorse and feel like that was a good night out, is hard. And you're competing with all of these comforts that are now existing, and are probably only going to be, get worse and worse for us as restaurateurs. But I think it's about. I think that right now the market is of course leaning more towards non-fine dining. I think it's a lot more niche. I think people want a lot more hominess and comfort and a soul that comes along with it. And I think they want a lot more personalization and a personal touch, and to know people that treat them very well when they're there. I think they want to see now with Chef's Table and all of these shows, they want to see the food being prepped, and they want to feel like they're a part of the show and not onlookers.
Great. I think, Sarissa, what you said is a great thing. It always brings me back to, what was the benchmark for a lipstick company? It was actually a bullet. How smoothly the bullet gets out of the shell and gets fired. That was a benchmark for a lipstick company, how cool it is, I don't know why I'm talking about lipstick, but it's a great analogy that the benchmark for your restaurant business is you're not competing with another restaurant anymore, you're competing with Netflix and Deliveroo, and pajamas. So that's your competition. Shane, where do you see all of this heading, and what implication technology has in the future? What role do you see technology as an enabler, whether it's availability of data or its enhancement of customer experience, or where do you see that going?
Well, I think there's a couple big areas that are tied into customer experience, and one is the ease at which they can access the services they want, how easy it is to transact. So I think digital payments, making transactions very seamless is starting to pick up, and we've seen a lot of that with the different ways that people can pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Grab Pay. So the way that the customer can accumulate points and have a seamless transaction, I think is starting to become prevalent in all businesses. And piggybacking on to that is the way that they have these interactions. And so I think you guys have a session on payments later today, and I think there's a session on not WhatsApp, WeChat. We have a session on WeChat tomorrow, how to get your business ready for WeChat. I think if you go to China and you see that the way that the customers are engaging with businesses, it's very digital, and that's become such a common experience. And if you can have a very strong presence there, Google Pay has done this very well in India. If you can create a very seamless transaction experience for customers, you can attract lots and lots of customers and make sure that they have a good experience. And because of the data that you have there, it's a meaningful experience. You're delivering what that customer wants. So I think that these are going to become more and more prevalent as that sort of data can feed its way back into more traditional restaurant operations, fine dining operations, experiences. If I'm at a club and I want bottle service and I have to, wave someone down, if there's a way that I can just order that straight away, and they know it's for me, I can have faster response times, and maybe I'll order more drinks. So these are the types of ways that technology is going to be more prevalent as we
Okay, so let's do something fun now. It could be completely irrelevant, could be very relevant, depends on the responses. So basically we do a 30-second rapid fire. You have very little time to respond, and if you're not responding, I'm nothing. So let's start with you, Rohit. Favorite restaurant?
Luke's.
Favorite bar, Sarissa?
Employees only.
It's also her bar.
Best POS?
Revel.
Okay, you guys are awake. You guys are awake. You guys are awake. Okay, if I could change one thing about my restaurant.
It would be the staffing issues.
If I could change one thing about my employees. My employees.
If I could change one thing about my employees, it'd probably be maturity level.
If I could change one thing about my system.
More customers.
One innovation, which is my pet project.
Human resource software.
One thing I could change about my restaurant.
The size of the kitchen.
One thing I could enhance about my system. Don't say customer service.
Well, nothing. It's so good.
On a Sunday night, ..
I'm in my pajamas watching Netflix.
On a Friday night, ..
I am going to Pasta Bar, then to Employees Only, then to Bang Bang, and trying to pace my tequila intake.
I kill Monday blues by.
Don't have Monday blues. Go out and meet clients.
When he meets his clients, he means he's having a lot of drinks and great food. On that note, Rohit, Sarissa, Shane, you have been fantastic again. Thanks for making this. Sarissa, you have stuck to your quintessential Italian self and being direct and being very, very relevant.
Thank you.
Practical, to the point. So thank you very much for your honesty as always. Shane, always full of great insights. And Rohit, thanks for being the analytical of who you are and the way you run your business. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed having them as much as I did. If you have any questions, we can take one or two questions right now. Either we've confused you or we've convinced you, but either way, okay, you have a question, okay, someone gives me hope.
Thank you. Thanks, Puneet. I just had one question because we don't see such restaurant superstars every day, so maybe it's not relevant to your niche or fine dining. But what is your thoughts about cloud kitchen, which is emerging now? You know, with the Ubers of the world, the Grab food, like I'm a big Grab food guy. So, what's your suggestion or advice for a person who wants to start a restaurant and not in the niche fine dining, but maybe he's looking at only the Grab delivery, food delivery stuff? Can he still make money having not a space in a city like Singapore, but running it like a cloud kitchen?
Rohit loves delivery as a business guy. They've got the same problem what we have with ODAs in the hotel business with Reels, by the way.
Yeah, look, I mean, cloud kitchens, I think, are posing such a challenge to traditional restaurants, right? It's such an easy model for setup. You know, you've got these prefabricated kitchens ready, and all you need to do is make sure that you've got a concept and you know you've got an idea of the food you want to make, get it out there and set it up. Being the data-driven guy that I am, it's all in the numbers, right? It's like you got to crunch the data on how much of a commission you're paying, what your reach is, how much revenue you're going to be able to generate to determine whether you are going to be able to make some money from it. You know, I think it all comes down to what your concept is and whether that is appealing and has enough reach to be able to be successful in these things. But otherwise, a very easy setup model and a very low barrier to entry, which definitely keeps us up at night.
To follow up on that, some other areas that I've seen that are allowing businesses to kind of capitalize on this is you'll set up one kitchen with multiple concepts. So you'll be the same operator, but you might have a pizza concept, a pasta concept, a rainbow concept. You're the same operator, but yet now you've established 3 different brands. So if you partner with a company that has a lot of data, then they can probably direct you into what the market is already demanding. That will lessen the burden of trying to go through this process of doing your own market research and analysis. But that does come at a hefty cost when we talk about the commissions that a lot of these partners will charge. So it can be a revenue generating business, but you do need to be very careful when you do that.
All right, on that note, we're going to hand it back to our host for the day, Amit, for some housekeeping notes, and thank you very much. We love being here, and thanks a lot.